Welcome to Life is a Rollercoaster, a podcast about the past, present, and future of the events and attractions industry. If you like future updates about our podcasts, please like and subscribe.
Welcome to another Life is a Rollercoaster podcast. The lady with the silly headphones is back, finally. And also James Mellors is back with us. And today we're going to talk about something that some people might have heard about over the last couple of years. That's COVID. I think, well, okay, there's probably nobody that's not heard of COVID. So we're going to go back to, when was it? December 2019. And we were seeing on the telly and on the news that something was going off in China. When we first saw them reports, did you ever think that it would affect not just personal lives, but the amusement industry itself the way it has done?
No, I didn't. To be honest with you, during that time of December, I was in Saudi and Hyde Park and things, and I never really took much notice to the news. I try not to, look into things too much and everything. And I think it was in February when I was out in Saudi that was all starting to panic, and it was just getting a bit more about the COVID. And even then I wasn't so concerned. But then I just remember coming back home, and then I went to Fancy Island actually for a meeting. And I think I heard it on the news or something then. And I can remember just ringing the wife up saying, this is actually now going to start getting bad. So we started doing like everybody else, right? Start buying. I nipped to the spa across the road at Skegness because she couldn't get some frozen bits. And I think we all went into that panic stage, didn't we? It come on so quick. But I think even then, no, I don't think we expected it to go on quite so long at the beginning. I think everybody thought it was just going to be quick lockdown, get out again, and we'll get moving. But I know a lot of people have been saying, and it's true, we've got to learn to live with it now, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's another virus that's out there. It's another flu, another, pneumonia, whatever. But it's there. We've just got to learn to live with it. So there's lots of changes. I think we've spoken about it before. Everybody implemented different changes, didn't they, to get the parks and restaurants and everything open. Some of it has really been hard for everybody, like I said before, especially hospitality restaurants, with all service systems and everything else. So no, I didn't think it was going to impact everything the way it has, but I definitely didn't think it was going to change life going forward. And I do think it has. It has. Everybody goes out now. Everything's credit card wherever you go. People are used to pre-booking now, whereas previously people like to walk up and pay for things, but a lot of people now are pre-booking.
Yeah.
It's something that's just changed the culture, changed the way people do things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
some of it's for the good. Some of it will be for the good. Some of it, I like the old-fashioned ways, but
yeah, obviously at the time, a lot of places were closed because it was winter season. Did you think then that places wasn't going to open on time?
Yes. So when we first went into it, we'd already budgeted to lose Easter at Fantasy Island. We thought we'd get open for the summer, but we'd budgeted to lose Easter. And I remember some showman friends of mine was just ringing me up saying, what do you think about COVID? Because they were all booking fares and they didn't know whether to go and build the rides up at certain places. And I just remember saying, look, from my opinion, obviously Edward was on the DCMS committee. I said, from our opinion, we're not going to get open at Easter. So some people took the gamble, some people didn't. And then obviously we couldn't open. So it was, pardon me. Yeah, so it was a funny one because you just had to kind of, it was a finger in the air guess, wasn't it? We just didn't know. And that was the problem then. We all thought was being open for the beginning of the summer. However, it got dragged out. And then we obviously closed again. And, winter time then, everywhere was closed for the winter. So I didn't expect that. I thought by the winter, everything would have been up and going.
Yeah, obviously talking about the committee that Edward was on, obviously, if he doesn't mind us talking about it, what is that and what's been doing on it?
He hasn't done a lot, to be fair now, but at the beginning it was more, so you were speaking with the government and we were chosen as part of the leisure industry. So when they had suggestions, but also like what are the opportunities industries could take, how do we look at it now? Like I said to you about everything's now pre-booking. So there's some opportunities there, which has gone good. But we also had to speak to the government and let them know how furlough was working for companies. And it wasn't just us, there was lots of others from different industries, different sectors. So everybody had their own opinions. And it was quite interesting at times to realise how certain things was impacting different businesses more than others.
Yeah.
And we were one of them, because we said, look, we can't just shut up shop. We can't do takeaway. So we're not like a restaurant where we can still get some business. We still have to do the maintenance on the rides. We still have to have the site securities. When you say we can open up again, we can't just flick a light switch on and open. So that was a good thing, where I was able to sit and talk with them and explain that and say, we need a roadmap. We need clear guidance. We need to be able to train people again to come in and do the rides. We need time to get them up and running and maintained. So that was really what our involvement was.
Yeah. Although the sound of a takeaway fare does sound quite good. Just order a ride to your door. I wouldn't say no to that. Obviously, did you expect it to affect all the countries as well that you're involved in? Did you see it becoming something global?
No, I didn't see it at all. That's what I said, until it really got to the UK. I didn't see it at all. I didn't even see it coming. I had to be fair, I hadn't really heard of it until it pretty much got us. So no, it was something we weren't really prepared for or looking forward, planning and had it in. It was all quite a reactive, which it was for everybody. Yeah. And it has been a reactive 12 months. Nobody's been able to be proactive and plan, because everything's just so different. Even now, there's no parts out there. So parts availability at the moment is shocking. Every industry at the moment is struggling for labour.
Yeah.
But it's one, I think, because of the furlough. I don't know where all the labour is, but every industry, especially on the coastal resorts and places like that, restaurants, bars, everybody's short-staffed.
Yeah.
But there's a hell of a lot of people that's been pinged, which that was another big problem. At times we'd have 35 people off. Some of them because of COVID, some because they've been pinged.
Yeah.
When you start thinking 35 people, you've got to have another 35 to be able to replace them. Then you need to be able to have other people to allow them to have days off. So it's really stretched everybody. It's been challenging, but I think we can see a light at the end of the tunnel. And like I say, learn to live with it.
Yeah, obviously you're quite a good person to ask this question to, because you have got places in different countries. How has different countries reacted to it, and has there been any differences in what's happened for shutting things down and everything?
Yeah, everywhere has been different. Everywhere's dealt with it differently in their own way. For instance, Saudi Arabia, they just locked all the borders very, very early on. No flying in, no flying out, and they actually stopped their own people from flying out the country, unless it was for something important on business. But then even that, they stopped altogether. So they locked down very, very quickly, very early on. Again, Dubai did the same thing, but then Dubai opened up because they needed the tourism. So everywhere's done their own thing. And in hindsight, I'm sure the government in the UK would say that was probably what we've done a bit too late, was locking our borders. But at the same time, we're recovering from it well now. I've got some colleagues and things in America where they're all expecting to have another big lockdown now in America. Obviously Australia haven't got that many cases. They've just been extremely strict with it.
Yeah.
But it's impacting the business again. A lot of the fairs then, they're open, then they can't open again. So unfortunately, some countries are still in that you can open, you can't open, situation.
Yeah.
Whereas at least in the UK at the moment, we do seem to be quite consistent.
Yeah, and I think we did go through that stage, didn't we? At first, when there was some fairs going ahead, some fairs not, and some people were building up and then saying that they couldn't open. And what went off there?
It was a shame, wasn't it? But I just think, again, we was all being reactive. Everybody was panicking, especially local councils. You can understand it a little bit when hospitals are full, and some people had to bear the grunt of it. And when we transport all these rides and build them all up and put all that effort in, it's the last thing you want to be hearing, but shit happens.
Yeah. I know there's a lot, there was so many arguments about it all and who was to blame, and some people got really nasty about it.
Some people still are, and it's hard to say what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is, and we have said it before, consistency. There is none. That's the problem. We talk about most people now are getting the vaccines, but then certain things still can't go ahead. It just doesn't, but yeah, everybody could go to football matches. And when it obviously for the Euros, open up, get as many people in that football stadium as you can, because it looked good for the country.
Yeah.
It's just been a bit inconsistent. I think that's been the problem for people.
Would you say that there has been a bit of an unfair situation going off with the fairs compared to other industries?
I think so, because you're a temporary event. So it's not just been fairs, it's been a lot of events. There's some events happening. There's quite a lot of fairs opening now, so obviously Goose Fair's not happening this year, but a lot of other fairs around the country are. Theme parks are all open, but I think it's just easier, like I say, to cancel the events because you're not a permanent establishment. So it's just easier for them to say, actually, you know what, we'll work with what we've got. We don't need any extra problems or concerns. So unfortunately, I think we've just been an easy target, but it's really affected the business.
Obviously, how's the furlough worked for the showman? Because I think I've seen a lot of people saying that they struggled at first to try and get it, but
the problem is with a lot of showmen is they're all self-employed, because they run their own business, so you can't claim furlough. So the self-employed scheme came out, but again, it wasn't a great amount of money. That was the thing. So, and again, a lot of the families and things normally all work as part of that one business. A lot of people have really struggled with that. Plus, it took a long time to get any money in the first place. That was another problem. So people have been digging into the piggy banks. But I tell you what, it's been really great. The one thing I loved about the showman is they've shown the resilience. You had people going out selling vegetables, selling fruit, doing door-to-door deliveries. A lot of people just turned to lorry driving and helping out the NHS, and so it's fantastic to see how. I saw
so many different people doing different things. I mean, the one that I thought was absolutely genius is people that had catering units were going out and opening them up.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody wanted takeaways, so people was opening up on the roadsides, and they were doing really well. They were doing really well. I remember once in Nottingham, I drove past the catering unit and I looked at it and I said to the kids, I said, you see that little hot dog store there? That's taking more money than the whole of our company put together at the minute, because everything we had was closed. And I just thought it was great that people got out there and tried to keep the wheels turning, even though it wasn't by doing what we'd normally do.
You could have got yourself a little catering unit then and gone out.
We tried putting a few ideas together at times of creating like a food court, food village, drive-through food villages. We come up with lots of different random ideas. But again, because you just didn't know how long it was going to be happening. So afterwards you thought we should have done that. It would have worked, but we didn't know how long he was going to be in lockdown. We didn't know what was next around the corner. So it was always a gamble to spend money on creating something. So it's been a funny old year.
It's working against time with it, isn't it, as well? Because you've only got a certain amount of time to get something set up. And like you say, if something changes in that meantime, then that's all for nothing. But I'm sure you're going to come. What kind of ideas then did we have?
Well, like I said, it was a lot of it.
Did any almost happen as well?
No, is the honest answer. No, it didn't, because there were just ideas. Like I said, we were looking at doing drive-through food. Because obviously everybody was just allowed to go to the cars and go to McDonald's and Kentucky's and things, but not go into restaurants. We thought about setting up lots of food units, but all doing different. So instead of having to go to Kentucky, go to McDonald's, go to Pizza, you could drive through, get your burgers from one van, get something else from another. So really to bring the food from the fairs and the events, even down to your sweet stalls and things like that. But they said we just didn't get around to doing it in the end.
I would have loved that. I'd have come. I like my food. I was talking about the fairs and everything opening back up, but as we know, there's one thing that's not opening back up this year. And there it is. And I have to say thank you to Dan Cox from Hold Tight Riders for the photo today. Goose Fair. So what's happening with that? What do we know?
It's disappointing. The showmen are all disappointed. It's a council in the end that's saying it's down to COVID. They wanted to put a fence around the site and so they could control people that was coming in and out to monitor numbers. However, the problem is with Goose Fair, if you only put a fraction of the people on there, showmen aren't going to make money in those few days, to set that kind of thing up. So there were suggestions of extending the fair so we could bring the people in, let people dwell over the time. Instead of coming in 5 days, let them have 10 days. That wasn't really going forward. So then the council suggested about doing pre-bookings on the gate, but then charging. And that was something that the showman was against, because the charter, which is over 700 years old, it's always been a free event.
Yeah.
And obviously the worry of that was once the council or anybody goes and gets, a few £100,000 on a gate, it won't go.
Yeah.
And that was always the concern. I know everybody could say, no, it was only for this year. We all know that councils and things are struggling with budgets. But if you go and take that money out of the circuit, then the showmen are going to get less. And then eventually that entrance price is only going to go up. Yeah. So the showmen just stuck together and said, actually, we don't want it that way. You don't have paid events on any other fairgrounds like this. You do obviously amusement parks, but they're completely different. So the showman said, if we've got to have a pay gate, we'd rather leave it for another year. So it's a big dent in the showman's pockets. Obviously, people rely on Goose Fair to see them through the winter, especially when we've had, a bad year as we've had. But it was about morals.
Yeah, I know a lot of the public were saying that obviously if the money was going to the council, they wouldn't go. But if the money was going to the showman from the gate, they would have supported it. And do you think the showman would have gone ahead with it if that was the case?
No, it wasn't about that part of the money really as well. It was about keeping the event so that people flow in. I know you could still have a closed event and have 4 gates. But the idea is just to let people freely flow in, flow out, because, some of those hot dog stalls and things that are in those entranceways, if you stop people passing through there and make it an exit only, then they're losing half the trade.
Yeah.
They're not getting the people that's passing both ways. So, no, I think it was nothing to do with where the money went from the gate. It was just they didn't want to charge. That's the way the charter's always been. That's the way the fair's always run. People love coming to the Goose Fair just to have a walk around. A lot of people come just to smell the smells and listen to the screams and the noises.
Yeah.
So by putting that paid gate on, it just changes the dynamics.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Hull's going, and we all know that Hull and Goose are always more or less at the same time.
Hull is due to go ahead. However, what everybody's concern is now is once you get one major fair like this cancel, then it can become a snowball.
Yeah.
And then other people start to do it because they're all, as councils, are obviously all in fear, if you like, of backlash. If cases rise or anything, then problem is with social media, it's great for some things, but people are so quick to jump and complain and have a go at people now. So when we said before about obviously Nottingham Winter, we tried to help the city out. We tried to get people, and then it was just too busy.
Yeah.
Then everybody are quick to criticise. If it goes well, people aren't always there to jump on the back and say, oh, that was fantastic. But as soon as there's a criticism. So I think, that's what everybody's concern is now, that other councils don't look at Goose Fair as a standard and then start doing the same. Hyde Park still going ahead. Yes, it's changed systems a little bit now because, again, they're doing pre-bookings. But again, Hyde Park was extremely busy at times. Even the local networks couldn't cope. So I think that was something that would potentially come in eventually anyway.
Yeah.
If Hull Fair goes ahead, like I said, football matches, you got tens of thousands of people into football matches, cramming in, singing and shouting in close proximity to each other. So, yeah, as I say, it's consistencies.
Yeah, just at the moment we've got Creamfields going ahead, and that's thousands of people, and they've got a fair there as well.
Yeah, but again, being fair about that, like you said, same thing with the parks. But a lot of those Creamfields, I don't know if they're asking people for PCR tests or not, but they can control the amount of people that comes in.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. Yes, those people when they're in there might decide to cram together, but they don't have to. And the problem is when you got a free event, if people just keep coming, well, then obviously it gets busy, and the people that are in there don't have a choice to get into space. And I think that's the issue with what's happened with Goose Fair.
Yeah. When do you think that councils will get the confidence back to run events fully?
I really don't know. Obviously, the government said crack on, business as usual, but some councils are still nervous. So, and the problem is, if this is 2 years now of the Goose Fair being cancelled, it starts to lose momentum. Usually you'd have a new ride coming in each year. So now you've been a few years where people aren't investing. Like I said, the business. So I just hope it doesn't have any long-term effects as well on the industry, and especially on the big fairs, because some of those big rides now will go to Hull. instead of the Goose Fair. They might get it. They might actually do better, or because of COVID, the way things have been, and then they might think, well, actually, I'll go to Hull instead of Goose Fair. So yeah, you just don't know now.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think the future is going to be of Goose Fair for next year? What can you see happening next year at Goose Fair if it goes ahead? Do you think it is going to be that a bit smaller, or
no? I think it would be just like normal. Like I said, we just hope with all the big rides and everybody still wants to come. As I said, really, there's not any new rides out there at the moment, especially again because of the times. People haven't been investing in new. But Goose Fairs are, it's 700 years old, 720 years old, or something like that. It'll still go, and people from Nottingham especially will still support it.
Yeah, obviously with it all being cancelled now, can you let us into any secrets as if you was taking anything interesting if it had gone ahead?
We was toying around with different pieces, but we've always got so much on. And again, at the moment, we've not knowing and things, we've not even been clear on our plans. The same thing, like we said, it's hard to plan forward when you just don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So so no secrets there.
I always try and get one out, don't I? What do you think is going to be the future now for things? I mean, well, firstly, from a personal opinion, do you think we're going to see any more lockdowns?
No, in a personal opinion, I don't think so. I think like we said at the beginning of this, we've got to roll with it, unfortunately. And I think the government's took that stance. They paid a lot of money out. They've done the furlough. They've put the vaccine on offer to everybody. And I think it's going to be the case now of having to roll with it. I don't think the country can afford to lock down again.
No, definitely not.
And like I said, people are better. People are naturally socially distancing now. People consider when somebody's on a bus, they don't go and sit next to the other person, whereas previously people just did that kind of thing. Whereas now I think people are more aware. So I don't think we need to go into I don't think we would need to go into a lockdown, but I'm not a medical advisor. If another major variant strain comes out, well, then we don't know. But again, this is the problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, if we did, so let's hope that we never do, but if we did go into another lockdown, what do you think the impact of that is going to be on showmen and the whole leisure industry?
Again, it's a lot of restaurants, when you go out in the towns, there's loads and loads of restaurants and things that's closed down now. It's just impacted everybody. I mean, it's been, like I said, it's a real change, isn't it? Obviously now online, everybody's delivering things online. Everybody's getting more and more through the post box, Deliveroos. I think it's COVID's potentially made people lazier. It's just Deliveroos and this, that, and the other. And so I don't know. But then at the same time, I'm saying it makes people lazier. A lot of people out walking. So people have just changed their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Change. So the industries will move. We've done that over the last few hundred years. And times will change. Amusement parks are changing to suit it. So it will keep rolling.
Good.
And some of the fairs that have been open this year have done extremely well.
Yeah.
Extremely well. People have missed them. People have missed that entertainment.
Yeah. I think it's been a bit hit and a miss with some seem to have done really well and others haven't done so great at all. I mean, we had Freeman's come just down the road and they were supposed to be here all summer and I think there was only here 2 weeks because they was just doing nothing.
Was I not?
So it's like I think it has been a little bit hit and miss at places at what they've done.
No, exactly. Some people have done extremely well. Some people have struggled. But again, it's just going to be the new culture and just times have changed. So they might not need that site. You might see more bigger fairs coming out again in the future.
Yeah.
Instead of lots of smaller ones now. That they might start saying, well, okay, we'll just do one bigger fair. So
do you think that would work better?
Personally, yes. I think there was way too many fairs at times with just a waltzer and a dodgem and a twist and a Miami.
Yeah.
Yes, a great little village fairs, it's nice, but it kind of took the novelty away from anything bigger. I personally would like to see more bigger ones as they do in Germany, even in the streets and things like that. But do it right again.
Yeah.
So if all the smaller towns and things would let people take over the streets and the cities, but do it right. Instead of having 2 or 3 fairs a year in that town, have one, but have a good one.
Yeah. Is that something you would personally like to organise?
I don't know now, but it was definitely, I mean, when we started the Thunder Awards years ago, that was kind of how we saw it then. You know, to get the big rides, you couldn't do all the smaller fairs on the Asda car park and things like that. You know, you just couldn't do it. So back then, when we wanted the bigger rides, we had to try and do that planning and make bigger sites, bigger events. Plus the moving, you know, it's too expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
Transportation and everything, moving all the rides around to only open 50% of the time. 3 days moving, 3 days opening. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So looking to the future now, what do you think is going to be happening in terms of how things are going to change when it comes to all the different things that you don't think about, really? It's like obviously more fairs taking cards rather than cash, because that's something I've noticed as well, that a lot of fairs have started doing now. They're moving more towards cashless systems.
I think everybody's always brought cash to a fair. I think it's just the way it's always been. I mean, we tried credit cards at Goose Fair years ago, and the machines, as soon as you got any amount of people there, they all just stop. And that was a problem. So credit cards haven't really taken off because we don't get landlines, obviously, because we're a temporary fix. And the signals was terrible. Even at music festivals, you know, as soon as a few people got around, the signal dropped out. However, nowadays, the systems are better, technology is moving on. So I think a lot of showmen now have got the credit card machines, and, you know, especially with contactless, it's so easy now. It's just tip. But when we did it on the mouse, I'm just looking at it behind your head. That's why I keep looking there. On the mouse, we had to have a separate queue for the credit card machine, because by the time somebody put the card in, then they entered the PIN number, then you had to wait for the signal, then print off the receipt, hand it back, and all that was for £3 for one person. Then the next person would come and do it again. Whereas the cash till was go. So that's the only problem with the credit cards. It's a lot slower. So when you've got capacities, you know, you might have to start changing where we have more box officers, ticket boxes and things then, if cards is the way.
Yeah, I think with the contactless, so it makes it quicker, but it makes it people spend more, I think, as well, because you're not looking at how much you've got.
And that was always the thing, I think, with the cash. People went down the fair, they knew they took 20, 30, 40, 50 quid, whatever it was, give a tenner to the kids. That's your bit. And you knew what you were spending.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons that cash has always been used on the fairs, for people to be able to budget. Cards are dangerous for that, aren't they? Like you say, you just don't know. You just keep tapping away, and then you look back at your statement and you think, oh my God, that soon added up.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing for the showman, I guess, because they're earning more.
It's not a bad thing. But like you said, but then the problem is, if we're not careful, we could end up with a recession, because everybody overspends, and then people don't have the money, and then we end up going backwards again.
Yeah, that's true.
So at the moment, because of the furlough, people have money. People had money in the banks. You know, people was doing building works, doing things to the houses, gardens, because they had money and they had time. But if everybody spends all that, and then all of a sudden we have this recession where they can't spend. So the first thing you stop spending on is leisure.
Yeah.
You know, you need food, you need drink, you need your house insurance, you need your fuel to go to work. So what we don't do is we don't go to the fair.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get hit by it quite early on. And again, it's not just the fairs. You know, it's the whole of the hospitality and leisure industry gets hit.
Yeah. Obviously, talking about people changing the habits and things going forward, do you think that hygiene is going to be one of them that's going to continue with us even till after all this is forgotten about? Or do you think we're going to see more cleaning between cycles of rides and everywhere?
I think so, but I think a lot of that will be down to the general public, the person themselves. I think everybody's just going to be a bit more conscious. You know, probably hand sanitizers again, because like you said, when you're getting on and off the rides and things like that. But I don't see this sanitizing in between rides continuing. Again, like I said, you've got to learn to live with it.
Yeah.
You know, you go on a bus, you touch the door handle, you press them on the traffic lights to cross the road. Everybody's touching the button. You don't see anybody running around wiping the Pelican crossings down all the time. So I think there's an element of it. Sorry?
I've done that.
But like, again, it's down to you as an individual.
Yeah.
So I think individuals will do that. I think individuals will have wipes. I think, yes, there's a sense of hygiene where people will be, you know, like I said, again, standing so close in the queues when you didn't need to. Some people just would be kicking you in the heels where they're so close to you. So I think people are going to have that bit more of a social awareness now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been that way of keeping things clean and disinfected way before COVID, obviously, because I've got a disabled daughter. I've always got to be cared about her picking things up and stuff. So it's just seemed like normal to me. Just nothing's really changed in that sense.
No, some things haven't for people. I mean, when they keep saying about wash your hands, well, you're supposed to wash your hands when you go to the toilet and things anyway, aren't you? But it's quite amazing how many people mustn't have washed their hands previously.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things like that I think will stick, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. What about masks?
I don't think, they're not enforced now, but I think you'll still see a lot of people wearing them. I was at a football match the other night, and there was a few people in there wearing the masks, but obviously the majority not. But Chinese have worn masks for years, haven't they?
Yeah.
You used to see them walking around the high street. You think, what are they wearing that for? And then before you know it, we're all wearing them.
No.
So it's just going to be personal choice.
Yeah, they knew it were fashion before we knew it were coming into fashion.
Personal choice.
Yeah. Obviously, we talked quite a lot about the traveling side of things. Do you think there's going to be any main changes to the theme parks and things that's going to stay as well?
No, because obviously as soon as they could change things back, theme parks have. The social distancing on rides was a nightmare for everybody because you had to limit capacities. So that was a big problem. Again, what people may look at now on rides is seat allocation, the way the seats are set on new roller coasters, for instance, where people are so crammed in. Maybe now you might see them start being more two-seaters or spread out or something. But I don't see no major changes at the parks. I mean, it's been a good year for all theme parks. Theme parks have been busy this year again, people not going abroad, so they've been wanting to go out. So it could be a really good boost for the parks. But I think, I don't know how many people are going to make major investments quick because we're not sure if this is a honeymoon period. Are we going to go into recession?
Yeah.
Is it going to slow back down? Once the airports open up and everybody can freely travel, does that mean everybody goes back to Spain again?
Yeah, I mean, that has been one bonus this year, that because people haven't been allowed to travel, there's been so many people spending leisure time in the UK. I mean, we've seen the influx around here this year has been unreal compared to just an average year.
It has everywhere. But that's the problem. Like we're saying there, then nobody's got the staff to cater, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So to give those people a good time and a good experience, you need the staff, but everybody's so short-staffed as well that we hope everybody that's coming out is still enjoying that time and will come again. The great British seaside. I mean, we are. It's Great Britain. We are a great island. There's plenty on that island, on this island for everybody to do, and people are seeing that now on the different coastlines. City breaks. So hopefully it keeps going, and I hope people keep coming back.
Yeah, and the one thing we've not mentioned though is obviously through all this, a lot of people have been struggling and they've been losing businesses. You actually bought a business in the pier during all this. Why during a pandemic? It
wasn't, intended to be during a pandemic. It was just, it came up at the time. You have to take the opportunities again when you can. We thought that the coast was going to be busy. So actually it was a good time as long as cash flow allowed and we could get open. So that was, again, the biggest fear is that we didn't get open.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a risk on that front, and we have got open and things are going well. So, it will work out and it'll be a good investment.
No, good. Was there at any point you thinking this isn't a good idea at this time? We should wait or anything like that?
I think I mentioned before we were looking at other parks and different businesses as well, but there's some of those things we had to pull back on just because we thought this is a bit too much of a gamble. This is, it's too high risk, as in the finances. We needed to make sure that we could, survive and keep everybody going that we needed. So we would like to have done more, but because of COVID, it stopped us.
Yeah. So now going forward, we've got the pier, we've got Fantasy Island, we've got travelling. What's next for the Mellors during COVID as well?
Well, we're just opening now a family entertainment centre in Manchester. So we're just fitting that out. So that's going to be something else that we're doing. So I'm quite excited about getting that one up and running. So that'll be a new venture for us. So it's been a project that we've been working on for a few years, to be fair. But it's just been finding the right location, right time, and everything. And there always seems to be something else cropping up in between. So that's the next venture for us now. So sticking to the leisure, but something with a roof for a change.
Yeah. Obviously, fingers crossed. This is going to be going ahead next year. Will we be seeing you there as well?
I missed last year's 2019 because I was away, and that was the only goose fair I've ever missed in all my life. So I'd definitely like to be back. It's a firm favourite. Just meeting up with your friends, people from all over the country travel to Goose Fair. I've got old friends from Nottingham that have moved away from Nottingham that still come back Goose Fair week. So it's nice just to catch up, to see everybody. It is a good atmosphere. So yeah, I'd definitely be back. Definitely back.
Yeah, just going back to Hull Fair, saying that there's a lot of people that will probably go to Hull Fair now that took things to Nottingham. Will we be seeing yourselves taking anything to Hull Fair?
No. Unfortunately, we only had 2 sites at Hull. Nottingham, we do more than anything now, just because it's our local. It's part of our history and everything else. So we'll always keep attending Nottingham. But it's the problem is Hull, it starts to impact again then with the park, with what we're doing for Fair Island and getting ready for Hyde Park and everything else for the winter. So no, unfortunately we won't be at Hull.
Yeah, are plans looking good for Winter Wonderland as well? Because obviously we know that is
Hyde Park. Yeah, I mean they're still working on plans. There's still been a lot of changes again because, like we say, the amount of space needed for people, crowd management plans. They're trying to be sensible about how many people can get on the site. So everything's still looking good. I think that event will be going ahead. And I generally don't think it'll be much different to normal.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, you got a paid entrance, but sometimes, again, Hyde Park got too busy.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I think people were worried about that was going to impact Hyde Park as well, that's happened over the last year or so, was Brexit and a lot of the European showmen coming over. Do we know if that has actually affected them at all?
It has affected them because of work visas. So the problem a lot of them have got is getting staff and different people to come over to work in the UK without getting visas. So it has made things quite difficult for a few people. But I know everybody's looking and that they're all working at different methods and ways to try and see if they can still make it work.
Well, let's hope they all get over, because it's one of the big calendar dates, isn't it, Winter Wonderland? And
well, I mean, it's a great event, isn't it? I think I've said it again on here before, one of the podcasts. The good thing about that one is they've got the big German rides, the German fairs like Munich's. They have 3 fairs in Hamburg: the Summer Dome, Winter Dome, and the Spring Dome, where people set up for 3 weeks at a time and they sit there. We don't have that luxury in the UK. So Hyde Park is the longest fair and the biggest fair. So unfortunately, that's where we don't have enough big British rides. So I'd love to see, like we said a little bit earlier, fairs start staying in places for longer, even like the Goose Fair, so that people could invest and go into more bigger rides. This quick setting up and taking away is holding the industry back in a way, because it stops us from going bigger. Like they have done abroad. However, a lot of the German fairs now are having impact. They're really feeling it. A lot of the German rides are selling on. They've got a lot more theme parks and things out there now, whereas historically we seem to have the coastlines and things, so everybody always would go to the coast for the bigger rides, and the fairs was always a local fair. In Germany, they were theme parks. But the business is changing. So again, COVID could have a huge impact on the European colleagues, because they are closed altogether. I think there's only Luxembourg happening this year or something. So there's not. It's been very hard for them.
Yeah. Well, let's fingers crossed that we are moving forward now and things are good. What's that song? Things can only get better. So
D-Ream.
Let's hope so. So that's all we've got time for today, and we hope that everybody's enjoyed listening to this. And it's good to be back as well. It feels good. So if you've got any comments or any suggestions and anything you would like us to talk about, just leave a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. So it's goodbye from me and James for today.
Yeah, see you again.
You've been listening to Life is a Rollercoaster, a podcast about the past, present, and future of the events and attractions industry. If you'd like future updates about our podcasts, please like and subscribe.